Udege people of the Russian Far East regard the tiger as Amba, god of the forest. One of their legends tells how a female tiger suckled and raised the ancestors of the Udege people. This is a story of a quest to learn more about the Udege and their forest home and their relationship with Amba, their forest spirit. There are only 2,000 or so Udege people left. More than 300 of them make their home here in the village of Krasny Yar, in the headwaters of the Bikin River. Russia's been through a lot of change in the last few years. Our people have embraced capitalism and the advantages of modern technology. We're becoming used to living in a consumer society. But what fascinates me is that in looking forward to the future, some of our people are also looking to the past, and nowhere more so than in the remote Russian Far East. My name is Anatoly Petrov. I'm a Russian filmmaker. It's the middle of winter, and I've driven 900 kilometers north from Vladivostok to Krasny Yar. I'm curious to learn more about the native Udege people as they move into the 21st century by reclaiming their ancient traditions and customs. I've been told I should visit an old Udege hunter. Ivan Gambovich Kanchuga has spent most of his life hunting in the taiga forest. He's 75 years old now, but is still renowned as a great hunter. Ivan lives with his wife of 56 years, Klawa. She reminds me of my grandmother. Ivan offers to be my guide, to introduce me to the forest he knows and loves so well. Even at 75, he's tireless. I'm much younger, but I struggled to keep up with him. But it's well worth the effort. Seeing with the help of Ivan's eyes, what seemed empty at first is full of life. We're following one of Ivan's trap lines. He traps sable for their fur. He's very happy with the sable. He says it's a good one, even though it's frozen solid. Trapping sable is one of the few ways Ivan has of making money. But he tells me he doesn't need much money. The forest provides for almost everything. Every Udege hunter has a hut, a place in the forest that's his. Ivan built this hut 56 years ago. It was his rite of passage into manhood. He says he spent more time here than in his house in the village. Winters here are long and cold. For more than 4 months each year, the forest is gripped by snow and temperatures as low as -40 degrees Celsius. Cold winds blow down from Siberia to the north, while snowstorms blast in from the Sea of Japan. The river in front of Ivan's hut is completely frozen. But while water's in short supply, the forest gives generously of firewood to melt ice and heat the small one-roomed hut. It's -30 outside today, but warm inside. But if I feel tempted to linger in the warmth, Ivan has other ideas. He drags me outside to show me more of the forest's treasures. He finds tracks left by a tiger. They're fresh, just last night. Like us, the tiger has struggled in deep snow before choosing an easier route on firmer snow along a vehicle track. Ivan tells me that this is a big footprint, 16 centimeters across. He often sees the tracks of this large male. There's also a female who lives in the area and a cub. It's an incredible moment for me to see these tracks, to know that the Udege's guardian spirit, the tiger they call Amba, is real and somewhere nearby. This tiger travels on his own, as tigers do most of the time. Amur tigers are also called Siberian tigers. They often travel 10 kilometers in a single day and as much as 30 as they search for food. They have huge home ranges, up to 300 square kilometers. Adult males have the biggest home ranges of all, overlapping with those of a number of females. The Udege believe that spirits dwell in everything in the forest, in each plant and each animal, the wind and water. The Amur tiger, the strongest animal in the forest, is at the top of a hierarchy of all forest spirits. I'm filled with a desire to see this tiger. But Ivan doesn't share my dream. For him, it's enough simply to know the tiger is out there. The Udege don't need to see their Amba. Ivan tells me it's no use walking, trying to follow the tiger. Better to sit in one place and see if he'll come to me. Some of the villagers have helped me build a platform high above the ground. My filming hide is out of sight and safely out of tiger reach. It shields me from view and gives me some shelter. Winter is both a blessing and a curse. With no leaves on the trees, I get a clear view of a large area, but it's bitterly cold as I sit here day after day, keeping still and quiet. My waiting has its rewards. The red deer are unaware of me and my camera. I wonder if somewhere nearby a tiger is also watching deer in the hope of catching a meal, or maybe it's eyeing up a wild boar, another food I know they like. I smile as the red fox is taken by surprise by an attack it would never have expected. A sable plays in the treetops, probably hunting for birds. But no tiger. A storm blows in. A day of snow followed by 3 days of wind. I spend all day thinking of Amba, the tiger, and at night he fills my dreams. The morning after the storm passes, I hear crows outside the tent. Ivan told me he knows when a tiger's made a kill because crows soon find it. Or did a sick or old animal succumb to the cold? Here in the headwaters of the Bikin River, on the western slopes of the Sikoti Alin mountain range, I'm in one of the last great pristine forests on Earth. Spring comes slowly at first, and then in a rush. The Bikin River thaws and begins a long journey heading west and north before finally turning east to the sea. This forest is called taiga, a word that originally meant land of little sticks. In this catchment alone, there are more than 600,000 hectares of cedar, larch, oak, fir and spruce. For centuries, these forests have been home to the Udege, the Nanai and other small tribes with connections back to Tibet and Mongolia. It was one of the world's last great unexplored wildernesses. It wasn't until the early 20th century that the great Russian explorer Captain Vladimir Arseniev mapped it, opening it to the rest of the world. I've heard that this forest is exceptionally rich in life, a meeting place for plants and animals from the subarctic north and the subtropical south. Small animals, such as these flying squirrels, spent the winter hibernating. Now they seem to be almost rejoicing at being alive and able to run around, racing to make the most of spring. They're not the only ones. Ivan has come back to the forest with Klawa. They tell me they came here on their honeymoon 56 years ago. They still spend as much time here as they can. In summer, when temperatures are in the 20s and even 30s, they grow a vegetable garden. They gather edible plants such as these wild onions from the forest. The forest has always provided for Klawa and Ivan and their family. Their 9 children, 19 grandchildren and now 6 great-grandchildren have grown strong on its food. Other children grow strong here too. Ivan shows me a nest of azure-winged magpies. One day, as I'm watching, a snake tries to get into the nest. The whole family bands together to drive it away. When I tell Ivan what I saw, he tells me of an Udege proverb that says, "The soul of a human baby grows in the nest of a bird." Family and children are important to the Udege. They have a great respect for the devotion that animals of the forest bring to raising their own families. Ivan tells me another story of Volodya, an Udege child with alcoholic parents, adopted by the Russian man who helped build my filming platform back in winter. Volodya is now 21, and his foster father would like him to learn the ways of his people. Ivan has agreed to teach him how to be a hunter. Volodya's summer of learning begins on the river. To be a real Udege hunter, it's not enough for Volodya to know just how to shoot a gun. He must know the plants and the animals of the forest intimately to be able to hear the voices of the spirits. The river is a constant path through the forest and an important source of food. Volodya needs to know every bend in the river, every rapid and every fishing hole. Ivan tells him it's important to know where do the fish gather, when do you cast a net, and when do you pull it in. He teaches him the names of the fish in the river, the grayling, the lennik, and where the places are to find them. The Udege once made all their own traps and snares for catching animals. These days, they're happy to use modern tools such as fishing nets and guns. But they still have the same reverence they've always had for nature. They take only what they need. Ivan tells Volodya to release young fish and females with eggs back into the river to ensure fish for the future. As they prepare for their evening meal, Ivan shows Volodya the easiest way to fillet the fish. Klau is making bread, using wheat bought with the money Ivan earned from selling the sables he trapped last winter. The peshka, the Manchurian stove, bakes fine bread. Volodya's not yet married. He must learn to make his own bread. The forest is a generous provider.
Ну попробуй. Снимаешь. Ну попробуйте, я говорю.
But times have not always been this settled and happy. For much of his adult life, Ivan lived not as an Udege hunter, but as a communist working on a Soviet collective farm. Beginning in the 1930s, Stalin began to turn the Soviet Union into a communist state. Under this regime, the cultures and religions of ethnic minorities were suppressed. The Udege people began to be swallowed by the tide of communism. The Udege have always been a culture of shamans. A shaman talks with all the spirits of the forest, crawls on the ground with the insect spirits, and flies in the air with the bird spirits. The shaman moves between the forest and the people and looks after both. But shamanism and Udege traditions were outlawed, and only now is this heritage being reclaimed. I returned to Krasny Yar to find the village children learning a traditional dance. Valentina is a shaman. She's returning ancient rituals to the village, teaching the young ones about their culture. She teaches them about the hierarchy of spirits in the forest. In all its guises, from gentle parent to mighty predator, the tiger is the most powerful spirit. Valentina tells the children they must know how to talk with all the spirits and listen for guidance, that this drumming is to summon the spirits from the forest. Like the Udege, tigers are making a comeback after many years when their survival seemed doubtful. One estimate suggests that there were as few as 50 Amur tigers left during the 1930s. One biologist thought perhaps as few as 20, but they've proved remarkably resilient. They're now believed to number about 350, spread across 2,000 kilometers of forest in the Russian Far East. The bugle the children are trying to play makes a sound resembling the voice of a deer. They practice a dance about two male deer fighting each other over a female. The dance recognizes the importance of deer in the life of both the Udege and the tiger. Both depend on deer for food and their survival. Like Volodya, I'm learning to listen to the spirits of the forest. I'm also beginning to see connections between things, to understand life and death. Ivan has told me how the river twists and winds through the forest. That when a turn of the river becomes cut off from the main flow, it doesn't die, but becomes instead a swamp, a favored place for animals to drink. From a plain, the tortuous path of the river becomes clear. Ivan advises me again to sit still in one place, to wait and see what comes to me. I enlist help to build a traditional Udege hunting hide, although I plan to shoot video footage, not guns. Infrared sensors on paths leading to the water will alert me if an animal passes. I'm confident the combination of ancient tradition and modern technology will give me the best chance of filming a tiger. First, we make sure the technology works properly.
Есть работа.
Every day in the forest, thousands of small dramas unfold. I'm hoping some will happen in front of me, but it will take luck and patience. I've been filming wildlife for more than 30 years, and I've been interested in it for as long as I can remember. My grandmother, Maria, the one Klawa reminds me of, is the person who inspired in me a love of nature. She wasn't an Udege. She came from Mali, more than 8,000 kilometers west of here. But like the Udege, she talked with the animals and plants of the forest. But there were no tigers in the forests of my childhood. If I could see a tiger, that would be a totally new experience for me. I look for a tiger, but instead I see a rabbit. A few minutes later, a Siberian lynx. If I disturb them, the lynx will go hungry. Better to let the lynx try its luck. I'm thinking about Arseniev, the explorer, and the years he spent traveling through this area. He was led by native guides, among them a man called Dersu Ursala. And just as Dersu opened up Arseniev's eyes to the world, so has Ivan opened mine. Finally, I get to see Amba, the tiger. It's the male tiger. Males are much larger than females. I read that a big Amur tiger can be 2.5 meters long and weigh up to 300 kilograms. These largest of the big cats are at the northern limit of their range here in Russia, and being big helps them cope with the cold winters. Tigers can live anywhere there's enough animals to hunt. Scientists studying tigers on the coast to the east of here have worked out that it's mainly the presence of red deer that determines whether or not tigers are found in an area. It's hot out there in the sun. He seems to be heading to the water for a drink. It was interesting how the tiger reversed into the water when he wanted to cool off. This way he can see what's coming and make a fast getaway if he needs to. I wonder if this tiger was born here, or whether he travelled a long way to get here. I've heard stories of young males walking hundreds of kilometers to find a territory. As I watch the ebb and flow of animals to the waterhole, Volodya's lessons continue. I join them occasionally to see what I too can learn.
Это все ночью, наверное. Утром? Да. Ночью. Если ты тьма не охлюсни, или док понес, и оли огонь.
Ivan explains to Volodya that a mineral lick like this is a favorite place for animals such as deer and wild boar. This stump has been chewed smooth by deer. Ivan's not sure, but thinks perhaps deer like the taste of wood after they've had their fill of salt. Volodya is slowly learning that the forest is not a uniform place, that some places are better than others for hunting, that there are many hidden corners. Day after day, Ivan walks with Volodya in the forest, teaching him to talk with the spirits as well as the finer points of hunting. Ivan points out a hole high in a tree. He tells us that it was once a den where a bear hibernated in winter and hid from mosquitoes during summer. But since he began walking past, the bear no longer uses it. Like the butterflies I saw in spring, Himalayan black bears are residents who've come from the south. Here in the taiga forest, they live alongside brown bears from the north. Ivan tells me a story. His grandfather was hunting in the forest and heard a tiger roaring. When he got close, he saw a bear and tiger fighting. The tiger was losing, so his grandfather shot the bear. Then, according to Udege tradition, he shared the meat peacefully with the tiger, saying, "This is for you and this is for me who helped you." Ivan says that for the next 3 years his grandfather was never short of game to hunt. He's certain that this good fortune was due to the power of the tiger. The bear in the story, however, was not one of these small, peaceful black bears. They prefer acorns, ants, or leaves to a fight with the tiger. The Udege too avoid tigers and seek out leaves in the forest. Many plants are edible, but it's a big task for Ivan to teach them to Volodya. These berries are called krakwa and are a cure for hypertension. The leaves of this plant make a tea.
Это Иван чай называется по-русски, а по-нашему я не знаю, не помню.
Ivan says the Russians call this Ivan chai. When tea was in short supply during the war, the old women made a fragrant tea from these leaves.
Потому что во время войны же не было чая.
Even in summer, Ivan can find evidence of tigers.
Он, видишь, по трассе, прямо по трассе пошел. Он промышляет, ходит.
Volodya's never seen a tiger, although he's heard many of the villagers say how they've seen tigers in the forest. More alarming are reports that tigers have been coming into the village. Next time I'm in Krasny Yar, I ask around. And it's not hard to find people who've had tiger encounters. Many of them have had dogs or livestock killed. This farmer says he's seen a tiger in the forest. One winter, a tiger killed nearly all his pigs. This man's friend was attacked by a tiger. He says he wouldn't be sad to see tigers killed, that they aren't rare. This man tells me that he knows 2 people who've been killed by tigers, that he came back to camp on a hunting trip to find a tiger eating the body of a boy. For all these people, tigers are troublesome and dangerous. Ivan believes the reason that tigers have become more of a problem is that they're being pushed out of their usual home. Large-scale logging of old-growth forest is happening right across the Russian Far East. In this unregulated post-Soviet world, foreign companies have even tried to log the pristine Bikin River catchment. The village of Krasny Yar protested and have managed to get a temporary halt to logging and road building, but there's no guarantee their forests are safe. Clear felling affects much more than just the area being logged. After heavy rain, Ivan has noticed masses of trees washed off logged hillsides and swept into the river. Debris blocks the channels and makes boating and navigating much more difficult. Ivan tells me that logging is no good for tigers and their prey either. He believes the reason there seem to be more tigers around now is just that existing animals are being pushed closer together into unlogged areas. But for the moment anyway, it seems there are still enough deer for both humans and tigers. Volodya's been hunting on his own for the first time, and he returns triumphantly. But he's going to need Ivan's guiding hand to deal with the carcass. It takes a lot of skill to expertly butcher a deer, and it's a skill Volodya has yet to master.
Оба, все, отпускай. Держи за передом. И вот так делать надо. Да, мой ножик давно уже крови. Так и ножик свой. Да ножик.
Ivan reminds Volodya that a real Udege hunter takes just what he needs from the forest. He kills only enough animals to feed himself and his family. Every part of the deer will be eaten. Only the guts will be discarded, offered to the river and forest as a tribute, as a prayer for future hunting success. Most of the land here in the Russian Far East is owned by the state, but it's managed by local hunting societies whose goal is to look after the deer on their land, to ensure the best possible hunting success for their members. Luckily for the tigers, good numbers of deer for the hunters also means good numbers for them. These cubs are just a few months old and are still suckling. Once they start eating meat, their mother will have to work extra hard hunting for all of them. A tigress can have up to 4 cubs. This is just a small litter of 2. The cubs will stay with their mother until they're nearly 2 years of age. Like Volodya, they must serve an apprenticeship before they'll become skilled predators like their mother. Everything they do in play is directed towards learning to be a hunter, motor skills, coordination, aggression. Childhood is a tough time. Many tiger cubs don't make it to adulthood. As well as natural dangers, there's now the added threat of poaching. Russia's neighbour, China, is a ready market for tiger bones for use in traditional medicine, and a tiger body is worth a lot of money to a poor hunter. Tiger scientists report that many of their study animals have disappeared, killed by poachers. By the time they're independent and hunting on their own, the mother of these cubs will already be pregnant and about to give birth again. Her daughters will settle nearby, but her sons will be forced to leave, pushed out by the resident males. They'll travel until they find an empty territory where they can settle. No one's sure how many cubs a female can produce in her lifetime, but it could potentially be many. That partly explains the tiger's resilience, how its numbers have bounced back since the bleak days of the 1930s. A tiger has to kill, on average, a large animal like a deer once a week. This nursing mother will be hunting more often than that. Many of her hunts will end in failure. I can understand why a hungry tiger might be tempted by easy targets such as the villagers' cows. The tigers are lucky they have the Udege as neighbours here, that their status as a spirit gives them protection and respect. It's time for the Udege's Autumn Festival, the voice of the tiger. The shaman travels up and down the river, drumming to call all the spirits out of the forest to join the celebrations. Everyone gathers for the dancing. The children perform the dance of the deer. Valentina, the shaman, introduces Ivan.
Красного Яра охотник, старый, опытный охотник, Кольчуга Иван Нямбуевич.
Дорогие гости, и к вам я впервые приехал. Я от души вам желаю крепкого здоровья и семейного счастья.
As a hunter of great experience, he's honored with a special talisman of the Udege's most important spirit, Amba, the tiger. Ivan seems a little uncomfortable with all the attention he's getting. He's much more used to walking on his own in the forest and talking to the spirits rather than being in front of a crowd. He's here to bless the young hunters. Today, Volodya graduates as a fully fledged Udege hunter. After blessing him in his native Udege, Ivan awards him his own special hunter's talisman.
Вот, талисман охотника. Не вася, не вася. Давай, поближе.
It's a proud moment for Volodya's foster father and for the whole village. They're honoring the things that are important to them, the skills of their hunters, the culture and traditions of the Udege. Dancing and drumming to call the spirits out of the forest last all night. It occurs to me that all of life in the forest is like a vast dance. The natural rhythms of the seasons set the pace. Every plant and animal has a part to play, and everything is woven together in a complex choreography. By listening, by observing, the Udege have developed a deep understanding of their forest home and their role in it. They take what they need and no more. That's a lesson I think many of us have forgotten. My year here is coming to an end, but life in the forest carries on. These tiger cubs are facing their first winter. If their mother's a skilled hunter, they'll be well fed. She'll teach them where to find food and will pass on the hunting techniques that her mother taught her. As they follow in her footsteps, they'll learn countless little tricks to travel on packed snow and avoid soft, deep snow. They'll discover sunny, sheltered places to sleep during the day, and they'll learn to weather the storms. Volodya is also facing his first winter in the forest. His friends have helped him build his own hut. Now he's a hunter, living on his own, depending on the forest for all his food. And Ivan is still walking, having conversations with the spirits in the forest of Amba, the tiger god.